Well, hello there, hello there, hello there. My name is HW, and thank you so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. You know, in a previous video, we talked about the ultimate Kemper rig, and that brought up a question. In that video, I mentioned that I felt like the Kemper Kabs do a really great job of kind of giving us the amp in the room experience. And I want to put that to the test a little bit today. Now, so we're going to do a test, and we are going to see if we can get a profile that I made, some profiles that I made of this 1964 Vibroverb, like Stevie's amp. Not literally the one he owned, but this is like the one that Stevie played, with a big 15-inch JBL, if we are gonna get the same vibe out of this speaker. Now, let me tell you what I think. I think that right now you are asking yourself the wrong question. HW, how do you know what I'm thinking? Don't worry, man. YouTube stretches into your mind. I'm in your brain, dude. No, I'm not. But listen, a lot of times when we ask this question, we're thinking about it wrong. We're asking ourselves, and you may be thinking to yourself, HW, how did you make this profile? Is it a direct profile? Is it a direct profile into speaker modeling? Is it a profile of this amp? Was it this exact amp? Has the bias changed? Was there a variable load on the amp, or was it a constant impedance applied to the power amp? Like, all those things should affect the tone, man. Let me clue you in on the secret. Guitar players have no idea what they're talking about. Okay, now this is for sure gonna be one of these don't shoot the messenger moments. Guitar players just really don't make any sense. I mean, we stress over pedals and op-amp chips and switches and connection points and true bypass switching, speakers, tubes, strings, pickups, but we leave about half the signal chain out of the equation. You see, for our sound to get to a listener's ear, unless they're in the room at a small intimate gig with us, maybe a little jazz dinner party or something, things like microphones, things like preamps become all the more important. And really, the placement of those microphones become the most important. And why is that? It's because the physics of sound dictate that where you stand in relation to something will determine the EQ and what your brain thinks about this sound. We've talked about this before on the channel. Darker things that lack high end tend to feel far away. They tend to feel like reverberation because they are far away, and the stronger energy wave that is the lower frequency wave can travel further than a high frequency wave, which doesn't contain as much energy because it's oscillating more quickly. This big, fat, low energy wave that carries all our low frequencies, they have the power to go much further. In the same way, you can hold your hand right in front of your mouth and you will hear this sort of instant reverberation. This tells your brain, even when you have your eyes closed, I'm right in front of something. Don't run into it. It's alarming. These same things exist with sound. And there's this phenomenon that guitar players often chase. We have a problem because we map out about half our signal chain. We do the guitar into the pedals, into the amps and the speaker, and that's where we stop. And we chase a certain sensation that we call amp in the room tone. But what is amp in the room sound? Well, to me, amp in the room tone, amp in the room sound, the amp in the room feel, the physical sensation of having an amp in the room, and the thing we are after, that sensation as guitar players is really characterized by two things, maybe three things, two things we'll say. And that is, one, that you have a guitar amp in the room with you that is turned way too loud to really be listened to in the room. What I mean by that is many times we are playing guitar amps in homes, in bedrooms, even in a band space. Those rooms could be anywhere from 10 by 10 to 30 by 30. They usually are not treated unless you're in a studio environment, and that causes reflection all over the place, reflection everywhere. The other thing we do is we position the speaker in a small box, like all of these boxes behind me, and the speaker is aimed flat. It's aimed straight. Now, Fender a long time ago had this, they realized this problem, and they used to put tilt-back legs on their amps. But the amp in the room sound is not characterized by a speaker being pointed directly at you. It is actually characterized by an amplifier being pointed over at your feet. You see, this is usually what we do when we talk about amp in the room sound. Now, for this speaker, this big 15-inch cone, or this 12-inch cone, for this to really have enough disbursement of sound to get over to me, a good general rule of thumb is from a 12-inch speaker, you need to stand about 10 to 12 feet away. And that enables the center of the cone to get the highs to your ear, as well as the other parts of the cone to get the rest of the frequencies to your ear. If you stand any closer, which we usually do, what you're in fact getting is a sort of shelved high end from the amplifier. The center of the cone is not able to disperse the frequencies wide enough. They will shoot out and miss my ear up here. They'll shoot this way. They'll shoot this way. And I'll miss the high end. And that means the high end I'll get will be after it bounces on that wall over there, or that wall over there, or after it actually hits the floor, in this case a carpet. But on a hardwood floor, that reflection would be even higher. You see, when we stand too close to our guitar amps and we turn them too loud in the room, we're not actually listening to the amplifier, we're listening to the room. And so for the test today, I'm going to use this Royer 101. I have placed it about the height of my ears if I'm sitting in a chair or back on one of those amplifiers. This is about the height that I would sit and play guitar. If I were higher, I'm about 6'2" when I stand up. So if I were any higher, it actually, you know, the disbursement of sound would actually get worse. So we're probably helping by sitting down and going about 10 feet out. That should be an appropriate distance. I will place the microphone there. I will play both of these amps. Both of these amps are going to have the center of the cones, for the most part, placed as though they are facing the microphone. And so, in this way, we will be having the microphone pick up the amps, but also reverberations from the room, similar to what a person, a guitar player, would experience when they are enjoying these two, rock boxes by themselves. Now, you may disagree. There are many ways you could do this test. I could mix a whole bunch of mics together. I have an overhead speaking mic that I could mix in. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe it would be better. Maybe it's going to sound better. It's not about sounding better. The real thing here is that we even out all of the variables so that we can just isolate the differences in the Kemper Kab and the 64 Vibrolux. You might also be thinking, HW, when you made this profile, you had microphones very close to the speaker and they heard only one part of the speaker and they heard this. Yes, those will account for some differences in the EQ, but I would submit to you that things later in the signal chain make the most difference. For example, place a tube screamer at the very end of your signal chain after your reverbs and delays, and then place one at the very beginning, turn it on with everything up in the air. You tell me which changes the sound more. Things at the end of the equation always have the largest effect because they are affected by less variables later on. That's just a concept. You can think about that. It applies in almost every way. So here we go. Let's play the 64 Vibreverb and profiles of that 64 Vibreverb. And I think because we're listening in the same room, they're going to sound pretty close.
that sounds really good. I don't know, I thought that sounded really good. And to me, that was kind of a tough test for the Kemper Kab, because not only are we asking it to sound exactly like the amp, and it's got the coloration of the microphones, but physically, that was a 15-inch speaker versus a 12-inch speaker. And, you know, physics don't just go out the window just because you say something is modeling, or just because, you know, you say something is, you know, flat range, flat response. It's not that way. Like, the physics make a difference. It's one of the reasons why, like studio monitors like this will never really give you the amp in the room sound, because they're pointed right at your ears. They have a certain sonic quality themselves. There's really no such thing as flat, to be honest with you. Everything has a signature. Just like there's no camera lens that is considered completely neutral. All lenses have a look, do a thing, have a something or other. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with like glasses or a TV screen. You can get very high-end quality TVs and they can look different. They can look very different from each other. Projection, LCD, LED, plasma, it's all different, right? And it's really not different at all with speakers. But I think the Kemper Kab and the Kemper Cone held up really well here. I noticed a little more brightness in the Kemper, and I gotta tell you, to me, how my ear identified that sound, I know what that sound is. That is the direct nature of having microphones close up on an amplifier. So the kind of nature of the presence, the high-end present feel of the Kemper here, like a little just more pizzazz on it, is really the sound of a very direct microphone. And so I can kind of hear that I did this microphone, or I did those Vibroverb profiles with an SM50 545, I think I did them with. And you can kind of hear them playing directly at the Cone. There actually is a control in the Kemper for directivity, and we could play around with that. But you know, you also could shove a little high. I don't know. My point is, they're already so close. You could get them even closer if you really wanted to nitpick. But at that point, it really begs the question, you know, is anyone going to notice the difference? What I was impressed with was a couple things. One, the Kemper's reverb to me, the spring reverb algo in the Kemper is really good. Here you hear it against a real 1964 spring reverb. I just sort of dialed those controls to be kind of similar, and they sounded pretty similar. But then on top of that, they should sound pretty similar. I think the Kemper's good quality spring, but it should sound similar, because then we have the reverberation of the room. We have the signature quality of the room that the amps are in to make them feel very much like they're in the same place, because they are in the same place. To me, if I'm a Kemper player, I gotta have a Kemper Cone, right? The Kemper Kab is great, it's cheap. I mean, you could definitely build a better quality cabinet. I don't think Kemper represents this as like the end-all be-all of 112 cabinets. And you certainly could build a 212 and a 412, heck, even a 312 by yourself. And I might do that. I might actually get a cab and, well, but then it won't be powered, you know. Now I'm after, hey, Kemper, can you sell me just the powered components that are in the Kemper Kab? Well, here we go, down another rabbit hole. But I hope that was helpful. To me, it really stands up, and I thought it works really well. Hey, if you get anything out of these videos, you found this useful, entertaining, enjoyable, I have no idea, or you just want to say thank you for making videos, please like, subscribe. It really helps out the channel. I appreciate it. It means the world to me, to be honest with you. I've been HW. Hey, and by the way, if you need a Kemper and you're exploring this, we have Tone Junkie loaded Kempers over at my buddies at British Audio. They sell a Kemper Stage, Kemper whatever, Kemper Cab. They sell Kemper Cabs, but Kemper rack, head, for the same price as a Kemper anywhere else. You get a Tone Junkie everything pack. At the moment you buy it. Well, I'll email it to you. But you get all the profiles that I've released until now. And that way you can be sure your Kemper is full of some really great sounds, including this 64 Vibroverb. Those profiles are in there. I've been HW. Thanks so much for watching Tone Junkie TV. HW, out.